A man with nothing left to lose takes a chance and helps Elon Musk, leading to a shocking twist no one saw coming. Nathan used to be someone, an engineer at a leading car manufacturer in Detroit with a sharp mind and a reputation for fixing what others deemed impossible. He spent years perfecting engines, designing efficient drivetrains, and ensuring vehicles ran smoothly. His world revolved around precision and problem-solving, knowing his work mattered. But now, he was just another forgotten face in a city that didn't care, sleeping under an overpass near a Tesla supercharger station in Sacramento. Nathan had learned how quickly life could strip everything away. After layoffs and a downsizing at his company, experience wasn't enough to keep a job. His savings dwindled, bills piled up, and the pressure grew. His wife left, and the bank took the house. He was too proud to ask for help, and when his car broke down, it marked the end of his old life. Now, his world was a small stretch of sidewalk where he watched people plug in their Teslas and sip overpriced lattes, ignoring him completely. At night, he wrapped himself in an old army surplus blanket given by a stranger. One evening, Nathan, eating a stale sandwich, heard a car sputter and failed to start. It was a high-end model, possibly a Tesla Roadster. The owner, visibly frustrated, was on the phone. Nathan recognized the issue immediately. It wasn't the battery or a random glitch, but a stalled startup sequence in high-performance electric vehicles. He knew how to fix it, but who would listen to him, a homeless man in a tattered hoodie? As he debated, he overheard the owner, Elon Musk, curse under his breath. Something about Musk's voice was familiar. Nathan looked up and saw the man's face, partially obscured by the streetlight. It was Musk, but would anyone believe a homeless man could help the wealthiest man in the world? Nathan's fingers twitched. He could fix it, but who would care? As Musk became more frustrated, Nathan couldn't walk away from a problem he could solve. He crossed the lot, approached the car, and calmly said, "It's not the battery. It's the power management system." The car didn't finish its startup sequence. "You need a hard reboot." The onlookers gave him skeptical looks, and Musk finally glanced up. "And you know this how?" Nathan, crossing his arms, replied, "Used to be an engineer. Worked with high-voltage drive systems for over 15 years. The crowd was still watching, waiting for Musk to wave him off, but instead, he raised an eyebrow and asked, "You think you can fix it?" Nathan shrugged, replying, "I know I can." Musk stared at him for a moment before holding out the key card. "All right, show me." As soon as the card hit Nathan's palm, his instincts kicked in. He opened the door, slid into the driver's seat, and tapped the brakes. The touchscreen flickered, the software struggling to recover but stuck in a loop. Nathan went to work, forcing a manual shutdown, bypassing the frozen onboard diagnostics, and using a combination of brake and accelerator inputs to trigger a secondary restart that most Tesla owners didn't even know existed. The car powered down, silent for 3 seconds, and then the dashboard flickered back to life as the system rebooted, running smoothly. Nathan exhaled, "Should be good." Musk leaned in, tapped a few settings, and then turned to Nathan. "That was impressive." Nathan stepped back, wiping his hands on his jeans. "Wasn't that hard?" Musk smirked. "Maybe not for you." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a stack of bills. "Here for your time." Nathan stiffened, not wanting charity, not wanting to be a story of a homeless man getting pity from a billionaire. "I don't want your money." Musk seemed genuinely surprised. "Then what do you want?" Nathan glanced around at the people still staring, whispering to each other. He felt the weight of being ignored, discarded. He swallowed, "Nothing, just glad I could help." Musk studied him, then nodded. Nathan turned to leave, but before he could take another step, Musk called after him, "What's your name?" Nathan hesitated, then looked back. "Nathan." Musk gave a small nod. "Good work, Nathan." Nathan had no idea this was only the beginning. By morning, he'd wake up and go about surviving the day like always, maybe find a meal, maybe fix something for a few bucks. But that's not what happened. He woke to the sound of voices, blinking against the early sunlight, realizing he wasn't alone. A group of people stood at the edge of the parking lot, some with cameras, others with microphones, news crews. His stomach twisted. He pulled his blanket around his shoulders, hoping they weren't there for him. But then, a woman in a blazer pointed, "There he is," and suddenly, they moved toward him. "Nathan, can you tell us what happened last night? What did Elon Musk say to you? Did he offer you a job?" The questions came fast, cameras rolling, eyes locked on him like he was a novelty. Nathan's pulse pounded. He wanted to run, but with the crowd surrounding him, it would only make him seem guilty of something he hadn't done. Then, cutting through the noise, a calm, authoritative voice said, "All right, that's enough." The crowd parted, and Nathan saw Elon Musk standing there, dressed casually, hands in his pockets, looking like it was just another Tuesday. The cameras turned to him. "Mr. Musk, is it true you're offering Nathan a position at Tesla?" Nathan's breath caught. "Wait, what?" Musk glanced at him, then back at the reporters. "We'll discuss that privately," he said before turning to Nathan. "Come with me." Nathan hesitated, his mind trying to catch up, but with the cameras rolling and more questions firing at him, he figured anywhere was better than sitting on cold pavement. Without another word, he stood up and followed Musk. As they stepped into the sleek black Tesla waiting at the curb, Nathan realized he wasn't just leaving behind a crowd, he was stepping into something much bigger than he ever expected. Nathan sat stiffly in the passenger seat as the Tesla pulled away from the supercharger lot, the interior smelling of leather and new technology. A world away from the streets he'd been surviving on, Musk didn't speak right away, he just drove, his fingers tapping lightly against the wheel. The silence stretched, giving Nathan too much time to think. Finally, Musk glanced over. "So you really didn't want the money?" Nathan exhaled. "I didn't help you for that." Musk nodded as if considering something. "You could have taken it, could have walked away and never thought about that car again." Nathan turned to the window. "I don't fix things for a payout. I fix them because it's what I do." Musk smirked. "That's rare." The Tesla glided down the highway, past towering buildings and sprawling office parks. Nathan should have asked where they were going, but something told him it didn't matter, he was already in it now. After a few minutes, Musk pulled up to a security gate, and the sign ahead read Tesla Engineering Headquarters, Palo Alto, California. Nathan's chest tightened. He hadn't walked into a facility like this in years. Musk flashed his badge at the gate, and the barrier lifted. Within moments, they were inside, surrounded by glass, steel, and innovation. Musk parked near a side entrance and stepped out. "Come on." Nathan followed, his heart pounding. He felt out of place, he hadn't shaved, he smelled like the street, and his shoes had holes. The security guard gave him a look but said nothing as Musk let him inside. They walked through a long hallway lined with project boards and sketches of Tesla's upcoming models. Engineers in sleek company polos passed by, some casting curious glances at Nathan. Finally, Musk stopped outside a glass-walled lab. Inside, a team hovered around a half-assembled electric motor, deep in discussion. Musk pushed the door open and gestured toward the table in the center of the room. "Here's the deal," he said. "This motor's been giving my team hell for weeks. Diagnostics keep failing, and no one can figure out why. They're about to scrap the whole system and start over." Nathan's eyes locked onto the machine. Even at a glance, he could tell it wasn't standard, it was experimental. Musk folded his arms. "I want to see what you can do." Silence fell over the lab, and the engineers exchanged glances, some clearly skeptical. Nathan felt their doubt, a homeless man off the street, standing in the middle of Tesla's research division. One of them, a sharp-looking woman in a black polo, spoke first. "You want him to fix what we couldn't?" Musk didn't blink. "I want to see if we overlooked something." Nathan stepped forward, ignoring the weight of their stares. His fingers hovered over the machine, and he could feel the problem before even touching it. He turned to the nearest engineer. "You guys check the inverter software?" The woman frowned. Of course, multiple times. Nathan nodded. Then the issue isn't in the software. He tapped the casing. It's mechanical. Something's jamming the cooling flow. Musk raised an eyebrow. Show me. Nathan grabbed a nearby wrench and loosened a few bolts, peeling back the casing. Inside, the sleek copper coils gleamed under the lab's fluorescent lights. He ran his fingers along the edge of the coolant manifold, then stopped. A small piece of debris, no bigger than a fingernail, was wedged in one of the ports. Nathan pulled it out and held it up. This is your problem. The room fell silent. The woman took the fragment, examining it. Her eyes widened. It must have come loose during assembly. Another engineer muttered, "We ran a dozen software diagnostics, and none of them would have caught that." Musk grinned. But he did. Nathan stepped back, rubbing his hands on his jeans. Like I said, I fix things. Musk nodded slowly. Yeah, you do. But Nathan wasn't ready for what Musk was about to say next. Before Nathan could process what had just happened, Musk turned to the engineers. Give him a workstation. A few of them hesitated, but when Musk spoke, people listened. The woman who had challenged Nathan earlier, her name tag reading Aid Patel, gestured toward an open station in the corner. I'll set him up. Nathan followed, still feeling the weight of their stares. He didn't belong here, not in these polished halls, not surrounded by brilliant minds in branded Tesla polos, not with his worn-out clothes and a past he hadn't come to terms with. Patel handed him a tablet. We've got another motor running hot. The cooling system's sound, but it keeps overheating after 5 minutes. If you're as sharp as Musk thinks, you'll find the issue. Nathan exhaled, rolled up his sleeves, and scanned the data, his brain shifting into high gear. The system logs were solid, no faults in the coolant, but the temperature kept climbing. Then something clicked, the heat dispersion rate. It wasn't off because of a mechanical failure, but because the materials weren't handling the transfer properly. He turned to Patel. What's the alloy mix in the cooling plates? She frowned. Standard composite blend. Nathan shook his head. Then that's your problem. It's not dispersing fast enough. The motor's not overheating because of a defect, it's overheating because the materials can't keep up with the load. Patel's eyes widened. You're saying it's a design flaw? Nathan nodded. You need a different heat-resistant compound. Something with a higher thermal transfer rate. Musk, who had been listening from across the room, grinned. That's twice now. The engineers murmured, some pulling up new schematics, others running simulations based on what Nathan had just said. Patel turned back to him. How the hell do you notice all this? Nathan hesitated. He didn't like talking about before, but for the first time in a long time, he wasn't being ignored. He ran a hand over his face. I spent 15 years in automotive engineering, designed drive systems, worked with high-voltage propulsion. It's in my blood. Musk nodded. Then Nathan exhaled, forcing himself to say it. And then I lost everything. The lab went quiet again. Musk studied him. Bad luck or bad decisions? Nathan met his gaze. Both. No pity in Musk's eyes, just assessment, calculation. Then come work for me. Nathan blinked. Musk gestured around. You just solved 2 problems in under an hour that some of the smartest people here have been stuck on for weeks. You don't belong on the street. You belong here. The words hit him like a freight train. He'd spent years believing his value had expired, that the world had passed him by. But here he was, standing in the heart of Tesla, proving to some of the brightest minds in the industry that he still had it. His throat tightened. I don't have a resume, no address. Musk waved them off. I don't give a damn about that. You've got skills, and you don't quit. That's all I need to know. Nathan swallowed hard. His hands shook, not from nerves, but from something he hadn't felt in years, hope. He nodded. All right, Musk smirked. Good, you start Monday. But the real challenge wasn't getting the job, it was proving he deserved to keep it. Monday came fast. Nathan showed up at Tesla's headquarters with nothing but the clothes on his back and the weight of expectation pressing on his shoulders. They gave him a badge, a workstation, and a fresh set of tools. For the first time in years, he had a place to be, a reason to wake up. But the doubts didn't disappear. As he sat at his desk, staring at the sleek interface of the Tesla engineering system, his hands hesitated over the keyboard. What if he couldn't keep up? What if the years on the street had dulled his instincts? What if he failed? But then Patel dropped a stack of design reports on his desk and asked, "You ready?" Just like that, Nathan got to work. The first few days were a battle. He had to prove himself, not just to Musk, but to the entire team. There were side eyes, skeptical glances, and whispered conversations when they thought he wasn't listening. But Nathan didn't have time for doubt. He did what he did best, he solved problems. He fixed a software glitch in the energy recovery system, resolved an issue with the regenerative braking algorithm, identified and solved a new prototype battery overheating under high stress, pinpointed the flaw, and suggested a solution. One by one, he earned their respect. By the second week, Patel wasn't just giving him assignments, she was asking for his input. By the third, Musk pulled him aside and said, "You're one of the sharpest engineers I've got." By the fourth, he got his first paycheck. Nathan held that check in his hands for a long time. It wasn't about the money, it was about what it meant. It meant he wasn't invisible anymore. It meant he wasn't broken. It meant that even after losing everything, he still had something to give. That night, instead of returning to the sidewalk near the supercharger station, Nathan checked into a motel. He took the longest shower of his life, scrubbed away years of dirt and exhaustion, and stared at himself in the mirror. For the first time in a long time, he recognized the man looking back. Months later, he stood outside a small apartment complex in Palo Alto. It wasn't fancy, but it was his, a place with walls, a place with a door he owned the key to. As he stepped inside, he thought about how close he'd come to fading away. All it had taken was one night, one decision to stand up, to speak, to take a chance. And now, he wasn't just surviving, he was back. Because sometimes, life knocks you down so hard you forget who you are. But if you're willing to fight for it, willing to take the shot when it comes, you might just get everything back and more. Nathan's story isn't just about luck, it's about resilience, about never letting your circumstances define you. If you've ever felt like you've hit rock bottom, remember, one decision, one moment, one chance can change everything. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share this story, because sometimes all it takes is one spark to reignite the fire.